I'm here today to announce the appointment of David Weiss as a special counsel, consistent with the Department of Justice regulations governing such matters.
For all of this, our very good friend, who's always so generous with his time, Andy McCarthy, best-selling author, contributing editor at National Review and Fox News contributor, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney. His book, Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency, should be textbook for colleges and universities. He joins us now on the phone. Andy, always such a pleasure. I just got to get your initial reaction to this, because this is the guy that tried to trick the judge.
Yeah, it's a sham. The whole thing is a sham. It's a sham that there's been a special counsel appointment, and it's a sham that there's a Biden investigation. Neither thing is true. Yeah. And I'm not exaggerating. For example, Dana, he purports to be appointing Smith under the Justice Department's special counsel regulations. He talked about the special counsel Garland did. Mm-hmm. He talked about the special counsel regulations in the appointment, in that press statement that he gave. Section 600.3 defines the qualifications of the special counsel. Let me just read one quick sentence, very clear. The special counsel shall be selected from outside the United States government. The thing that makes a special counsel special is that you bring them in not only from outside the Justice Department, but outside the government. Because the whole idea is you need a special counsel only when there is such a profound conflict of interest in a matter that deserves investigation that the Justice Department can't ethically investigate it in the normal course. And there can't be a worse conflict of interest than the Justice Department, the President's Justice Department, trying to investigate the President's son for conduct in which the President is implicated, maybe in impeachable conduct, for all we know based on what we're hearing. So this whole thing is a sham. He's not from outside the government. He is the Biden Justice Department. He's a high-ranking Biden Justice Department official. He was 5 minutes before he was appointed. Then Garland does this abracadabra thing. Nothing is changed. He's the same guy. And the reason I say that there's no investigation is no prosecutor who actually had an investigation going would give a plea deal in the middle of your ongoing investigation to one of the main subjects of the investigation. If you were investigating bribery to the tune of millions of dollars and potential money laundering and tax evasion and all that stuff from the bribery, why would you ever, in the middle of that supposedly continuing investigation, give a misdemeanor plea to 2 counts to the main subject or one of the main subjects of the investigation with a promise of seeking no jail time?
Right.
Why would you, if you were conducting an investigation in which you had a lot of evidence that foreign actors were paying millions of dollars in bribes to get favorable treatment and access to a high-ranking politician in America? That's what your investigation is showing. And you're also seeing in your investigation that they have this sophisticated labyrinthine bunch of channels for transferring the funds so that you can make the big payments look small and less noticeable. And you're obviously trying to hide where the source of the funds come from, right? So that's what your continuing investigation shows. But you not only give Hunter this plea, you stipulate with the defense lawyers to a statement of facts in connection with the plea, which says that the money that was coming in is explained by the fact that Hunter is a high-end lawyer who has a lot of well-to-do clients and does a lot of contract work and consulting work. And that says that the reason he doesn't pay his taxes is because he's drug-addled, even though not paying the taxes is completely consistent with the idea that you're trying to hide the money because you don't want anyone to know the source of the money, right? So no prosecutor who was conducting the Biden investigation, as we've seen the evidence of it from the House, would ever, in his right mind, either give Hunter the plea that was offered to him or stipulate to that statement of facts about what the underlying factual basis for the plea is.
This is just unbelievable. We're talking to our friend Andy McCarthy about all of this. You mentioned too, you touched on the legality of having someone who's not outside the government be special counsel. I mean, I don't know what kind of jurisdiction the House has here. I mean, it seems like this is just ultimately the DOJ's sole call. But is there any objection that can be raised with that by members of Congress or anyone else?
I'm so glad you asked that, because this is why this is all theater that they're trying to pull over on us, because they think we're stupid. The very last of the regulations for special counsels says that these regulations don't create any actionable rights in anybody to object to anything. So what the Justice Department does, on the one hand, is tell you that we have all these regulations that we follow with great scrupulousness to make sure that our investigations are credible. And then at the end, they say, oh, and by the way, if we don't follow the regulations, you can't do anything about it. You know, so it's a farce. It's complete. It's nonsense.
I keep looking at this
but,
and trying to. Sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to say every mainstream media outlet will say, isn't it great he appointed a special counsel? What integrity he has. In the meantime, a special counsel he appointed is the same guy who was running the investigation in the first place. It's like abracadabra. Now you're a special counsel. Yeah. Congratulations.
Bippity boppity boo. That easy to change it. Talking with our friend Andy McCarthy. Is there like a double-edged sword in here somewhere? Because because now he has this, which was weird because he always said publicly. Weiss said publicly that he had the authority to bring charges, but then privately he was apparently saying, according to the whistleblowers, that he didn't have authority to bring charges. If he has now this this authority to run this, does this mean that Joe Biden could be drug into this now? Could he be part of all of this as well? Could he be subject to this special counsel investigation?
If there was a real investigation, sure, but there's not a real investigation. No, well, what you've just pointed to is some more theater. It happens very often in the Justice Department that U.S. attorneys from different jurisdictions disagree about how a case should be handled. So Weiss said, he's not telling the truth about this, but he said that he wanted to bring felony charges, at least he led the agents to believe. He wanted to bring felony charges in in Washington, D.C. or Central District of California, which is Los Angeles, the two places that had venue over them and where they could be properly brought. Then what he led them to believe is he was being stopped by the U.S. attorneys in those districts, and without their permission, he couldn't bring charges. Does anybody think the Attorney General is like an innocent bystander, like he has nothing to do here? The U.S. attorneys work for Garland. So if Garland wanted the charges to be filed, the U.S. attorney in Los Angeles and Washington would be told to work with Weiss to file the charges. A U.S. attorney can't stop another U.S. attorney from filing charges that the Justice Department or the Attorney General wants charged. What happens in these situations, which come up all the time, is you go to main justice and argue it out, and then the Attorney General makes a decision about what happens. So this idea that he's being blocked by U.S. attorneys in other districts was complete nonsense. It's just they think we're stupid and we don't know what how things work.
Right.
And so far, the way it's been covered, I guess they get away with it.
You mentioned venue, talking with our friend Andy McCarthy, author of Ball of Collusion, the plot to rig an election, destroy presidency. You mentioned the venue. Now, I was reading that the federal prosecutors had moved to dismiss the tax charges in this case so they can be filed in another venue. Explain that to us. What's the strategy with that?
Well, first of all, the more important thing that they don't say is they've never indicted this case. There's no indictment in this case. So Hunter's crimes, to the extent we're talking about tax and gun crimes, have been well known for years, right? But what Weiss has been doing is strategically making the case go away. So, for example, the 2014 and 2015 years, where we saw from the House report much of this $20 million comes from. That's the time frame of Burisma. That's the time frame of a lot of these other big payments. The statute of limitations has run on those. Weiss let it run. Hunter Biden's lawyers, in the interest of trying to get a global settlement that would give him a complete immunity bath from everything that happened from 2013 going forward, told Weiss that they were willing to waive the statute of limitations to get the sweetheart deal that they wanted. It was Weiss who decided to not take that deal, just let the statute of limitations run. So what stops the statute of limitations from running is filing an indictment. Once the charges are filed, then the clock stops, and then you go forward from there. Every day he doesn't indict, more counts are being lost. The statute of limitations for tax is 6 years. For everything else, it's 5 years. We're now in 2023. Most of this conduct happened up until about 2019. So every day he drags his feet. He's already killed everything, probably from the time that Biden was during the period of time when Biden was vice president, which ended, January 2017, right? Mm-hmm. He's got almost no case left on that stuff. Wow. Because it's gone, the statute's run.
And I think you told us too that the gun charge, that statute of limitation, that's up in October, I believe.
Right. Yep.
Wow. And so that's ultimately the goal here.
Yeah, and the only thing that's filed, this business about like they're dropping those charges and filing in another venue. Oh, good. Those charges, those are the 2 misdemeanor tax charges in the sweetheart plea, which first of all, they're a fraction of what Hunter has done. Right. They were filed to shield him from more serious felony charges. They had made an agreement to seek a non-jail sentence. I mean, imagine you're continuing investigation into millions of dollars of bribery, and you're giving them this plea in the middle of your investigation. That was a farce. They hoped that they were going to get away with it, and the judge asked them, some basic questions, and they couldn't answer them, so it blew up. But once they withdraw that means there's no indictment anywhere. So all that's happening is the clock continues to tick, 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 and the case continues to disappear. And the other thing, Dana, just to where this all ends up in the end, why make him a special counsel? Because the one thing that makes a special counsel importantly different from any other prosecutor in the federal government is a special counsel gets to write a report. So Weiss's job is on the front end, erode as much of the Hunter Biden case as you can get away with, so there's virtually nothing left of it to charge. And then on the other end, sometime next year, he'll write a report that says President Biden had nothing to do with it.
And he'll never have to pardon his son. Oh,
well,
wow. Wow. This is like the Law and Order episode of all episodes. Golly. So that's where, and this is going to go away for him. Last thing on it, this is going to go away for him. I don't see anything coming of this.
Yeah, look, they may feel like they have to, for political reasons, try to run another misdemeanor plea. I think this time maybe what they'll do is, get Hunter to waive venue and in Delaware and let him plead to something where they know they can get it in front of, plead it in some jurisdiction
right,
where they think they can get it in front of a judge who's not going to give them any jail time, give them a misdemeanor or two, and then beat their chest about how bravely they prosecuted the president's son.
Oh my gosh! All for the optic of it. I mean, this is that double that additional standard of justice, the 2-tier standards of justice. Andy McCarthy, our good friend, we so appreciate you giving us some of your time on. I know it is a crazy day for you. I've seen you everywhere. Folks, you can get his book, Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election, Destroy Presidency. You can read him online, watch him on TV. Andy, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend. If you can, I know you're going to be busy.
You too, Dana. Thank you.
Thanks so much.